Well, Heidi Ho, Buffalo, and congratulations on a massive success 2 weekends ago. We are going to be reviewing all the fun we had in Buffalo over Memorial Day weekend and all of the triumph you had in Buffalo. And it's the only thing that makes me sad is that we have to wait so long to do it again, a whole year, which is heartbreaking, but that's okay. It'll be worth the wait. Worth the wait for sure. So I'm going to start by bringing in the other half of Team Noisy, my junior poobah, the race announcer with the big voice, Mr. Rudy Novotny.
The junior poobah. I love being the junior poobah. Hi, Fitz.
Hello, Rudy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy Global Running Day to you and anybody watching, listening. It's a big day for all of us. We're so blessed to have a sport and a pursuit that is so easy to do. You know?
Well, easy yet hard.
Well, it can be. It's what you want to do with it, But I mean, shoes, shirt, socks, shorts, bam.
Yeah, and off you go. So a few days ago, I was in Chicago doing a keynote presentation for a massive association, and the topic was community.
Yeah.
And so I built in the running community to my presentation. And it's so funny because, half the audience sits there and be like, I hate running. Yeah, I get it. Half of the people that are running don't like running either. They're just there for the people and, donuts in the morning, beer in the afternoon. And it's just such a wonderful group of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, the running community is, clearly very, very special to us. And I don't know about half the people out there don't like it, but I think there's a huge percentage of the people that run and go to races that just really love to see the people they see, make new friends. Yeah. And it's just that feeling of belonging. It's just fantastic. I love it.
And it doesn't get any better than in Buffalo, right?
Oh, that was great weather, great everything. It was awesome.
It sure was. Okay, well, let's bring in one of the men. There's two big race directors that work tirelessly all year round to make this event extraordinary. One of them has crap Wi-Fi, so Rich Clark, we miss you.
We love you, Rich.
That's right. But Greg Weber's here. Welcome, Greg.
How's everybody doing? I made it back to my condo after race weekend.
Heidi ho.
So I don't know that I'm recovered yet, but everything's good. And we're only 355 days away from next year. So we're already working on it.
That's too far.
Go ahead, Fitz.
I was just going to say, why don't you put on 1 to 4 more races per year?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a lot. Someday we're gonna have to do a couple roundtables throughout the year. I think what would be fun is if you did a roundtable with a couple of your favorite race directors. That might exclude me. And like, what goes into staging an event, right? I mean, we have thousands of runners that show up, and there's a lot of them. I mean, that they don't realize just how much is involved in the weekend. My family, my friends that I brought down, I mean, they start seeing it and they're like, wow, right? I didn't realize. So, and I think that's the same thing for the runners. They run by all those resources and that, they think that stuff just falls out of the sky at half an hour before the race starts, right? So, I know I was in Disney a few years ago and I was there to run the Goofy Challenge, and it was a beautiful morning when I woke up, but they canceled the race because they had thunderstorms all night and couldn't set the course.
Oh, it was that year.
Yeah, right. I mean, it started thundering at 10 o'clock and it thundered till 3. And, our friend Dave McGilvray said from Boston goes, where's the race? Why aren't we running? And I was like, come on, dude.
Well, to be clear, thunder we can do all day. It's the lightning. Right?
Thunder with thunder comes lightning. We can do rain all day, but once you have thunder, you're in trouble. And so not everybody understands what's involved in staging one of these events. So
we can definitely do that, and I can put that on my Fitzness show agenda for sure. So, but we are going to talk about all the goodness that was had just about 10 days ago. It's all a blur right now. Folks watching, and there are a ton of you, so welcome to the show. We love you. We miss you so much. Use the comment section wherever you are to tell us what race or races you participated in. I added.
I would go so far as to say, tell us your best experience while we're doing this.
But that's next.
And I would add, tell us your worst experience, right? I mean, I'm open to somebody saying, fix this. We know where we hear what we did well. That's great. It always makes us feel good. But, Rich will tell you, and I will tell you, we always want to know, we don't see the race from the runner's perspective. So, and we'll touch on some of these topics later, but I mean, I got comments and Rich and I talked about it. We're already making adjustments for next year because it's great in planning, but sometimes it's poor in execution. So,
well, I know you're always doing your best and keeping your ears open for sure. So folks, start. Question number 1 is, which race did you participate in? And then we're going to go to the best and then critique for improvement. So which race? We've got Cheryl did the 5K. Donna ran the full. Oh, she course measured too long. Donna, Greg, do you want to take that or do you want Rudy?
The course is not measured too long. The course is certified, as Rudy will attest to, and you will. In order to be a Boston qualifier, you have to be a certified course. Our map is on the line, and so are the certification numbers. People who start their watch too early before the starting mat have gotten long runs. If you don't run the tangent, it's measured from a tangent course, right? So, and GPS is not always accurate. So,
right.
Especially when you get around tall buildings.
Yeah, there's a percentage of error for GPS, but if you don't run the exact tightest route on any course, you will come up long. So if you ran to one side to get water, ran to the other side, ran in the middle of the road, it will always come out longer than you're signing up for. Correct, Rudy?
And there are people who think when it's certified that the course is measured with GPS. It is not. It is measured with a wheel and a tape measure, literally. So,
yeah.
And as and these conversations have been out there forever, but it's okay. We don't it's something worth going back on. When we talk about tangents, the race course is measured in the absolute shortest distance it takes to get between two places. So what I like to, when we're having a conversation about that, I like to talk about a road that kind of goes like an S. Okay, so it's not measured like that. It's measured in the straight line of that S, as long as that's available on that piece of road. Okay, so it's a straight line. You can't do that. You're going like this. And so that's why you're on a marathon, you're coming up 26.35, 26.4, somewhere in there. What you need to really, 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 really worry about is when you run a marathon and your GPS says 26.2. That's when you have a problem.
Right. Then you're likely
our course, our course does have a lot of long straightaways. So the tangent is probably not, there's areas where the tangent doesn't come into play, but we also have circles on our course. Yeah, there's two circles at the end. You run on the outside of that circle and it's going to be a lot longer than the inside of the circle. So you run the inside of the turns. I mean, a lot of runners know it. They don't think about it when they're running. So we had a couple people who actually ran. They said, I mean, I saw distances of a 10th, 2/10 long. And I mean, I don't, they had to go into the donut shop.
Well, hey, Fitz, before we continue, can you change this display, or maybe is it on my computer? I'm just getting we're in really little boxes on my PC.
Can you, Rudy, expand your screen? There's a little.
I have a touch screen. I can do that.
Oh, look at the high tech stuff.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a good topic to cover. There's always new people coming into our sport with questions like that, and it certainly will help clarify things for not only this race, but future.
Did I just see a comment from Hillary that she qualified for Boston?
Awesome.
Yay!
Yes, sure did. And she's fine. Here's what you want. That's right. Tessa said it's her favorite race, a few half marathons and second full at Buffalo. Great race. Jennifer Lynn would run it again. Well organized. Kudos to you and Rich. Oh, and Kim Sharoff conquered her 90th half marathon.
That's right.
We're so
That's
proud
right.
of Kim.
So awesome.
Outstanding athletes. Okay. So you can keep coming in. Let us know which races you ran. So let's start on Friday night, Greg. Just briefly, you guys put on quite the fireworks show in Buffalo.
Well, it's actually, we have 48 minutes left. So it was actually it was fun for a couple of reasons. One is I'm really good friends with Matt, the guy who owns the pyro company, Skylighters of Western New York. And we are also worked hard to partner with the Chippewa Alliance down there on Chippewa to stage this Friday night happy hour. Right. And really kick off summer in Buffalo. And that was the goal. So this was not just for the runners, it was for the community. And, we had the band Strictly Hip playing, which is a cover band for the Tragically Hip. I mean, I think, last year we had the Nerds playing, which is a big band here in Buffalo. I think we had a couple hundred people in the street. This year we had probably 500 or 600 that had showed up in the street. And, so it's doubled or tripled in size, and we want to keep doing this and getting it up to thousands. So I've already talked to the bar owners. They want to do it again. They're in. But leading up to that event, before we even got the band playing, we had this plogging run at 5:30 that we had 30 or 40 or 50 people participate in, where they actually went 2 or 3 miles out on the course and picked up trash, which was a new concept coming out of Sweden that one of our illustrious sponsors with the beer company, Dennis Brinkworth, set up, and which I thought was pretty cool. And I went over and thanked those people. But yes, then so the Strictly Hip played for 2 or 3 hours. They played for. I think they started at 6:30. The party started at 5, and they started at 6:30. And we lit up the skies at 9:30 with a spectacular, what was it? I think it was like 15 or 18 minutes of pure finale. I mean,
that's a good description of what it was. It was like Fitz and I were like right under it watching it, and I'm thinking, oh, there's the grand finale. Oh my God, look at that. That's incredible. And then there's the next grand finale.
Yeah. Rudy kept going, this has to be it. This has to be it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, well, it goes to being very good friends with the guy who owns the company. And I knew, and we had a lot of his vendors there, and he promised he would not disappoint. So I kept calling him and telling him who was going to show up. He goes, oh, I got to add more. So, I mean, he did it. He always does a great job. He actually does about 320 or 350 shows in Western New York a year.
Wow.
Around 4th of July, he employs like 150 people. Every time you go to a fireworks show, there has to be at least one licensed pyrotechnic there. Anything that is pyro at the stadiums, he has to be there. He's incredible.
Yeah.
But the great thing about that fireworks show is we have had fireworks at the start line, as people know, for as long as Fitz has been there, 8 years now, 7 years.
No.
And it's gotten bigger and bigger since we've started. Every year he doubles what he brings. And so we did Rockets Red Glare and the like for the start of that. And then at the end of it, he brought in more that we kind of a la Disney. And I said, how much do you have? And he said, well, how long do you want it to last? And I said, I want it to last 90 seconds. So that's what we did at the start of the race. We did a pretty good little display on Sunday morning at 6:28, like right before the start of the race. So he does a great job. But we bought our fireworks with Matt at the Make-A-Wish online auction. So they auction off for charity, and he was auctioning this off. And Matt is such a good community partner. And I said, well, Matt, I want to help Make-A-Wish. So I want to give the money to Make-A-Wish. So I'm going to bid on these fireworks. And the previous year, I think they sold his show. He did a 20-minute show, and I think they sold for a couple $1,000s. Well, I got in a bidding war with somebody, and they went for, I think this year on, it's not a secret if you were listening to the Radiothon, I think they went for $6,200. And we got way more than that. But Matt was gracious enough to not only sell one show for $6,200 that I won. The other bidding partner was at like $6,150. They paid that, and they also got a show.
Oh,
so Matt raised $12,000 for Make-A-Wish.
Nice.
Which I think is phenomenal, which sponsors a Wish. So he got kudos to him. He is such a good friend, such a good person in the community. So yeah, it's a great story. There's a lot of great stories behind this race that I could go on all night about how big of a community event this is.
Well, let's get to it. Let's go straight to Saturday morning. And we kick things off at 8 a.m. with the Buffalo 5K. We had a runner start at 8 a.m. Then 8:15, we kicked off the walkers. And I'm going to share
the first Buffalo Marathon 5K walk.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Let's have a look.
Oh, great video.
Can I have that for my website?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Good job, Fitz. Nice hat.
Before we talk about the 5K, because anybody watching this from Buffalo probably realizes it, but if you're from outside the area, they're probably saying, why does Fitz have that big orange hat?
Right.
Now, why were you wearing that hat?
Well, because when I showed up that morning, Greg said, I have a birthday gift for you. Here you go. Our National Lacrosse League Bandits are in the championship tournament, and we want you to wear the hat. And as I've heard, those Bandits won the national championship.
That's right. It was game 1 that day, and they went back to Colorado and lost game 2, and they came back to Buffalo last Sunday and crushed them. I think the score was 13-3.
Oh, geez.
Yes. So they brought a national championship back to Buffalo. So that was the first one of 2023, and the next one's going to be Go Bills.
Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. That's right. It's nice to have the jersey, the Bill jersey and the Bandit hat. And if you've got some other Buffalo paraphernalia, Rudy and I will happily put it on. Right, Rudy?
You got it.
Rudy,
lifelong Bills fans now.
We are Bills fans. Of course, you know what? I feel like I'm a little like a part of Buffalo.
You are.
I feel like I am. Rudy, were you semi-envious that I had the big orange hat?
That was quite a hat. That was a lot of hat. You had to signal your turns.
That's right. Actually, it was such a hat that I took it off after the 5K. I decided, okay, I'm going to wear it for the 5K, but I'm going to go back to the Grand Poobah hat for the rest. So at 5K was as per usual, so fun. It's a fantastic community event, and so many local, so many out of towners too. But I love that, in fact, it just welcomes every type of person, all ages, all fitness levels, and so many people doing their very first because you welcome them in by officially having a walker start.
That is true. And the 5K is, we would be remiss if we didn't mention that it's sponsored by John R. O'Shea Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And as they're involved in a lot of the Saturday events. And Saturday for us it came home to roost for me. And I don't remember who said it. It may have been you. the first year when I was watching the 5K finish, and it might have been Rich. They were all families, right? And from that time on, we were like, we want to make Saturday family friendly. All these people train for 16 weeks or 18 weeks to run a half or a full. Their families are sacrificing while they're out pounding the pavement. And it's nice to have a Saturday where the entire family can participate. And the 5K is the start of that. And then because we were at one of your races, our volunteer director said, let's add a walk. And our operations director went and said, I found the room and we're not going to get anybody to sign up. And it sold out in 2 weeks because it said walk, and everybody was very receptive to it. It went great.
Yeah, just genius. I mean, it's technically anyone's allowed to walk any 5K, but to so many people, it's just intimidating. I'm going to be lumped with runners. Oh no, I'll look weird if I walk. And that's not true. But when you say, okay, walkers, we want you, come and walk, please. And then they realize it's okay. And I think we had a great time.
We admittedly, we don't profess to be perfect. We admittedly, have some things to adjust, right? The start for the walk was a little long afterwards. I mean, we need to start it earlier, which we're going to do. We're going to expand the field this year. We're expanding the 5K and the runners field. So we're going to make them both bigger next year. So I'm looking forward to just growing that and seeing how big it can get.
Yeah. As far as the individual athletes go, one of my favorite was a family that started with the walkers. There was an adult son and his parents. And they mentioned to me that the son had been in the hospital that week with kidney disease. And at some point soon, he may end up on the kidney donor list. And they were out doing the 5K together, and they just were so emotional. And these parents were, as we all are with our children, so in love with their boy. And he was really emotional to be out there, to be able to go on this athletic adventure with them. And it was a really proud start and an even prouder finish. And we had the opportunity to have a conversation with our athletes about getting on the donor list. And it's something easy to do in every state. You just go into the DMV and sign up. And it's this great gift of life you can give after your passing. But something like a kidney, you can actually give the gift of a kidney and live a long, healthy life as well. So it was just a really meaningful part of that morning.
Yeah, the man that helps with the website, Herman, he donated a kidney to somebody I think it's in his company, not family or anything. He was a match, and he said, "I'll give you my kidney," and he did it. And I have the most respect for him. And when you look at the athletes, there were two others that I need to highlight. One is, I can't even remember her name. I got a message from a woman who had been struggling to walk, and her family, lifelong runners, and she had some medical problems. She goes, I don't know if I can make 3 miles in the time allotted. And I said, well, start early. You can cut, you can, it's your race, right? You can finish. She went out and walked, and she started a little early. And I think I want to say she made it about 2 miles, 2.5 miles, but she came across the finish line, big smiles, had never done anything like this in her life. And we gave her a medal, and she was smiling from ear to ear. And then we had a sponsor last year, first year with us, and she was sitting there and she got so inspired. She's never run, and she's a great sponsor and a great partner, Kathy, and she went out and ran her first 5K.
She sure did.
So it's great to see. Everybody doesn't have to run a marathon. This weekend is more than about 26 miles.
Yeah, and Kathy Allen, Rudy, and I looked for you with our eagle eyes on. We don't know why we missed you coming through the finish, but it will pain us all year.
She gets major props from me.
Absolutely.
And thanks for the cupcakes, Kathy. And the decaf Diet Coke. The decaf Diet Coke was the best.
Wait a minute. Those cupcakes were awesome. Just to be clear, it wasn't just cupcakes. They were gourmet cupcakes.
And Kathy Allen is from one of our great partners, Tops Friendly Markets. And I was actually talking to her a little while ago about those cupcakes. And the cupcakes they were not at the finish line for anybody who was looking for cupcakes. We had a party for Fitz. Yeah, right. It was her birthday on Saturday, but a small little, and Kathy remembered it was your birthday. It wasn't my idea. It was her idea. Those cupcakes are available at every Tops Market under gourmet cupcakes.
Oh man.
So everybody should know that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. I don't want people thinking they crossed the finish line and there were cupcakes for everybody but them.
You're going to be handing out cupcakes next year.
Right, exactly.
We're going to bake them too. All right, guys, I'm moving on. We're going to kids and babies. Ready?
Go for it.
Oh, we're going to
the most adorable kids and babies.
Okay, before we go any further, we gotta give props to the photographers. I mean, they
Diane Sardis, Rudy, thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
Diane took all those
that
photos
stuff was great.
Yeah, they're great, and you've weaved them into great montages. They're great. They're fabulous. They're going to be on our website shortly. But again, the kids race. We'll do the kids race first. Family weekend. Sponsored by Dick's Sporting Goods and the John R. Shai Foundation. That race is free to register. And this year we had our largest field. You know, we try to keep it, we got to control it a little bit. It was over 400 kids from 3 to 8 years old. We break them into 3 and under, 4 and 5, 6 and 6 to 8, and they have a great time. And then we'll get to the diaper dash. But what we did this year, and it goes both the diaper dash, and because of the popularity for both the 5K sold out, the walk sold out. We offered 100 slots to the 5K. 5K was, I think, $40 or $45, and we offered 100 slots for $75 an entry. And the race donated that entire race fee to the hospital, to John R. Shai. So that worked really well the last couple of years. We've given them $15,000. This year we said, we sold out the kids race early. We said, well, let's add another 60 slots to the kids race for $10 a piece. So we did that. We sold all of those. All that money went to the hospital. So that was another 600. And then the diaper dash we sold out, and we sold, I think, 12 more slots at $10 a piece. So the hospital ended up getting $8,240 the other day.
Fantastic.
And those kids, and this is the part that I like to touch on. Those kids are, they get swag bag, right? They get a medal, they get their bib, they got race pictures this year because they had official numbers. It's available to the parents. It's all controlled. But there are my favorite parts of the race that some people don't see, and it gives me goosebumps. Last year, we had this crazy idea that we would take the swag bags that we give to the kids, and we would make another 180. So we made about 600 swag bags that matched the kids and put medals in them. And then we took those bags to the hospital. And all the kids who are currently in the hospital also got everything that the kids participated in. Nice. So it kind of brings them into the community and says they can be part of it. Now, I wanted to stage races in the hallways. I told them I wouldn't have fireworks, but they said, no, they're in the hospital because they're sick. And I was like, oh, okay. But I have gotten pictures. And I didn't realize what you were doing, Fitz. I would have gotten some of the pictures to you because it's heartwarming. And last year I got a picture from one of the moms whose child got a bag, and this year the child was in the race.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
and they're little things that we do for part of the race. We promote it, but it's not always picked up. So I like to talk about it when I get the opportunity.
Well, you know what, Greg, all this stuff is super meaningful. And without going into too much detail, I had a scary couple days in the hospital with my son once, and somebody showing up with something so nice would have really made a difference for our stay. So
Right.
thanks for doing that.
So now if we go back and say, so that's the kids race, they had a good time. We didn't have them all running at once this year, Rudy. So that we had that under control.
We did.
But then goes to I was a little disappointed. My daughter, who's pregnant still, she's 41 weeks pregnant. She's going to be induced on Monday. But I had told her, because this was really, we have a lot of ideas, and everybody asked me, where do I get these ideas from? And I can't take credit for all of them. I can take credit for some of them. A lot of them, people come to me and say, you should try this. My daughter actually came to me years ago and said, you should do a diaper dash. She didn't have any children. And I said, what the heck is a diaper dash? And that was what you started your montage with. For people who don't know, it's a crawl, toddle, walk. It's 2 and under. We welcome them all. If your baby can't crawl, you can carry them over, and they will get a terry cloth bib that they can use instead of a race bib, and they will get their first medal. And I was so disappointed my daughter didn't have the next baby before the race, because I said, if you have that baby and you're out of the hospital, that baby's coming to the diaper dash. It's going to be the youngest contestant ever. So it is a 26.2 miles is a marathon. The carpet you started with in the video is all supplemented, and it's 26.2 feet. And it is probably my most favorite event of the weekend.
So cute.
There were a lot of kids too. There were a lot of diaper dashers. How many were there?
I think there were 112. And because of construction, we have 8 lanes. We were restricted to 6. So anybody watching this for their kids, we had 400 kids, which is a lot running, and we had 112 in this. We don't send them all at once, right? I mean, we don't just yell. We don't line them up and yell, go. That's what they do in California because they have thousands. We line them up and make it a little bit more individualized and let them go. You're at the line with the kids. What are we sending them in? 8s, 10s, 10 at a time?
Yeah, about 10.
So we probably, if we had 500 kids and we were doing 10 at a time, we had 50 heats crossing the finish line. Yeah. 50, 60 heats when you get to the narrower heats. So yeah, it goes for what? About an hour and a half it's going on. It's crazy.
So
it's the best.
So my favorite part about the kids is how seriously they take it. So, the 3 and 4-year-olds are just like having fun and crying and looking at mom and dad. But once you hit that 5 to 8 group, they're intense. They're charging hard. It means a lot. And, we ask the spectators to go crazy because this is a real way to impress upon children how exciting being a part of sport can be. And they show up. Buffalo was super noisy and enthusiastic for our kids. But yeah, the kids take that so seriously. But then the babies, these parents take it so serious, like, come on, baby. And baby's just staring across, confused. And there's a lot of pressure on the babies on occasion. But what a fun thing to do. And can you imagine being a new parent and now your kid is doing a race, even if your kid is just rolling over drooling? It's just such a source of pride.
And they're not only doing the race. I mean, they're doing the race in, I look at it and say, it's just another day on the race weekend, right? But they're really in the finish chute for the marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in amongst all of the pomp and circumstance that we set up, and they're getting the whole experience. I mean, that 26.2 feet finishes at the finish line, right? I mean, it's measured. It's almost certified. So
right.
It's hardcore.
One kid did call and complain and said it was 27 feet, but
baby.
You called outside.
I'm waiting for some baby to complain.
Exactly.
Well, actually, someday we're going to have the United States represented by an Olympic athlete in track and field who will be able to say, I got my start at the Buffalo Marathon diaper dash.
I'm waiting for that picture to appear on the screen because the difference from when you and I grew up, Rudy, and I talked to my daughter about this. They're when they're our age, they're going to go back and be able to watch like every hour of their life as they've gotten older.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. So there it is. I'm waiting. I'm thinking that picture is going to be out there at some point.
It sure will. It sure will. So, awesome baby and kids race. And then if we think Buffalo can't get any cuter and sweeter, we bring in the dogs for the Ruffalo Stampede.
That sounds bad. Bring in the dogs.
Bring in the dogs.
We want to get the dogs.
The obviously the sweetest, right? Even sweeter than babies, possibly. What do we think?
They're cute, but they can't compete with the
just a
diaper
little,
guy.
a little short of that. Just a little short of that. But
That's why we do the dogs last, because the dogs would they would mess up the race environment.
Right.
Right. Those dogs were perfect. Every last one of them. They were perfect and sweet. And yeah, when I went over to the start line, we were doing the group photo, and I mean, you get 200 dogs. And they were all so friendly. There was no growling or angry barking, just a whole bunch of good boys and good girls.
Yeah. Now, wasn't that also the largest we've ever had before?
No, there were about the largest was 210. We had about 125 this year. I don't know if anybody snuck in with a dog and was a bandit.
Bandit dog. The dog came through the finish line.
The dog race, again, sponsored by Tito's. They're a great supporter, and the dog race goes to support 5 local rescues, and then Tito's makes an individual donation of $1,000 each to each of those rescues, in addition to sponsoring the event for the owners. So it's a great experience for everybody, and again, it's family friendly. Bring your and there's people at the expo with their dogs, and it's just, again, I just look at it and sometimes I just shake my head and say, this is just exactly what we've always envisioned.
Wholesome goodness. Have a look-see.
Do you have a video of it?
That was my birthday present. That was it.
And we should really, if for people who have been looking at the photos and seeing every now and then that shopping cart pops into the photo.
Yeah.
And you should know that Topps brought in the shopper, which is a 9-foot shopping cart that 8 people can ride in, and it led all of our races. So it's always another fun part of the weekend.
Yeah, that's got like a 500 horsepower engine.
It's a lot of fun. And I have yet to ride in it.
Me
All my kids have ridden in it. Kathy from Florida, my girlfriend, has ridden in it. My daughter was in it. They were all, they're all going. And I'm like, I said to Rich, one of these days we got to just we'll go with the cart in the morning and let everybody else run the race.
Yeah. Someday. Maybe a Friday night. Grab a beer and go for a ride.
It was parked at the happy hour, so people love taking their pictures with it, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, we blew it, but the dogs were great. The dogs were excellent kissers. I got to sample the kissing skills, and they were all very talented. And they all got a bandana and a medal for their collar, and the owners got poop bags.
Yep,
and they got milk bones.
And they got Milk Bones.
Thank
Another,
you to Milk
for
Bones.
people who don't know, Milk Bones are manufactured in Buffalo.
In Buffalo.
So
Now, Rudy,
they're a big sponsor too. They send over lots of Milk Bones, big boxes of Milk Bones.
were those Milk Bones, M-E-L-K, or Milk
Oh,
Bones,
geez.
M-I-L-K?
They were Milk Bones.
Milk Bones. Okay, just checking. Milk Bones. Okay, dog race was great. Saturday night we had an awesome pasta party. We had a ton of people show up.
Well, take a pause.
The bark crawl.
Thank you.
The bark crawl and all the rescues at each of the bark crawl stations. That was awesome.
Yep.
Again.
So the Friday night happy hour, the streets were closed. They kept the streets closed and on Chippewa, and all the bars down there participated, and they set up their patios, and there was a rescue at each bar, and they had some dogs, and they were promoting their causes, and the dog owners were invited to go down to Chippewa and support dog races supported by Tito's, the vodka of dog lovers. And
yes,
they so they had this, they went down there, and the rescues were pitching the dogs and trying to get dogs adopted. And yeah, so it was a good deal. And I don't know that we had a picture of her, but Patty, a police canine who has now been a police canine for 8 or 9 years, was sponsored by the Buffalo Marathon's first Ruffalo Stampede. However, no, I think it was 2019. It might have been 19. I don't remember. It's all a blur, but it was when Officer Lehner perished in the river. We did it in his honor, and we sponsored Patty. And I think it's Lieutenant. I think she's Lieutenant Liz Howard is in charge of the canine unit, and said that when she retires, Patty's going to retire. They're both going to retire together. So I don't know how many more years they got, but it was nice to see Patty there. And Patty has apprehended people and had found guns, and so it's been great.
Patty can do anything, for sure. Okay, and for those of you in that Buffalo or Western New York area, you can still go visit those rescues and adopt. It's the only way to go.
And if you're not sure, go to our website and go into races and find Ruffalo Stampede, and all 5 rescues are listed there with links to their organizations.
That's right. Your new best friend is waiting for you, for their forever family. So
your new Ruffalo Stampede companion next year.
Right.
All
right. So pasta party, fantastic. I think everyone had a good time. The food was great, Greg.
Pasta party, it was good. You were a great speaker. We had Jen speaking this year, who is a 3-time 6-star winner for the Abbott Majors. I think she's one of 2 women in the world.
Yeah, not winner, but finisher.
She finished all 6 majors
3 times.
3.8 times. She's only got 2 more to make it 4.
Yeah, and I don't know that any woman has done it 4 times. So, and she's from Dunkirk, and she's a teacher. So for those of you who don't know the majors, it's Chicago, New York, Boston, Tokyo, Berlin, and London. So you have to do all 6 to earn the star. You don't have to do them in a year. I think she's done 1 or 2 of them all in the same year, but it's quite a feat.
Yeah,
just the travel is quite a feat, right?
And she qualified for Boston the next day again. So
yeah, and she's a really fine runner, a really fun person, and an excellent runner.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you guys, you both did a good job of speaking. You on your journey, and for anybody who they know you, right? You can go to fitness.com and find your story and the books you've written on your, I'll say it, on your cancer journey. It's been no secret since you were here in 2019. So I'm always a big advocate for because looking at you now, you would never know you were that bald woman on the stage in 2019.
Oh, it's so bald. So
that
bald.
hair has come back really well. A little darker, Rudy. Don't you think that when it was the first time?
Hey, there's all kinds of weirdness with cancer. You get what you get. I think her hair has come back beautiful, but
yeah, it has. It's been incredible just to watch over the last 4 years that it's grown back.
Yeah.
And then I didn't come, but the event, it's a long day, when you start this stuff, and you guys finished the day with a happy hour at the bar. How'd that go?
It's fantastic.
Yeah, we had a bunch of friends come by and we hung out. It was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, we get such limited quality time with our old friends and our new friends that having a happy hour is a great time to get to know people. And we had a ton of new people show up, and
Yeah.
it's a getting to know your race announcers assures that you'll get, or almost assures you'll get, a fantastic shout out at the start or finish line. So it helps us, and sometimes it helps you too, right? There are
Well, yeah, and again, as I always like to talk about, when people look at the day, and a lot of people come into the expo at 9 o'clock when it opens, and they get their number, and they got to get home, and they got to sit down and whatever. But I mean, the crew started real early, but I think you guys came to the start line around 7 o'clock before the race as the music went on, and you went till 7 o'clock that night with the happy hour. And then you got up the next day. It's a long day. So you went 12 hours and,
good times.
And the crews, for those that don't know, the volunteer crews out there, they're starting at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to get things ready for when you show up.
Right. They sure are. So we've got, everybody's in there giving their all weekend, and that's why it's so great. That's why it's so great.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Great. We have to move to Sunday, Greg.
Okay.
Getting on with
my
the show.
God, it's 10 to 8.
That's right. It's 10 to 8, guys. We had a massive success on Sunday with our full marathon and our half marathon and our Kaleida Health relay. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. Are you ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
Woo!
So much fun. As you go through that, there's a picture of me at the finish line, and there's a guy standing next to me with a vest on, and that's Rich Clark. Yeah. And he is my best friend and co-race director and operations director, and he's the reason the weekend runs as well as it does. I mean, when it comes to race weekend, it's his weekend. All the crews work for him at that point, and he is just second to none with what he produces. He works tirelessly. When we talk about what time you get up, he was on the street at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning starting to set up. So most of the runners probably weren't out of bed yet, and his crews were right behind him. So it's an incredible undertaking. So, it moves me. I'm very lucky to be partners with him in this whole parade we call the Buffalo Marathon weekend. Yeah, but the race it makes me want to do it again next weekend. But I'll wait 50.
Yeah.
I'll wait 50 weekends. We're actually fortunate, if you've been watching the news. I mean, we're under a smoke advisory right now. So if somebody was asking me today, what would you do, if you had smoke, with my daughter? And I was like, well, I mean, they've canceled races because of smoke. I don't know that we've been in a situation yet where the race would have been canceled, but certainly would have adjusted how people performed. So yeah, it was an incredible weekend all the way around. And as you look at the marathon and you look at the Kaleida Relay, Kaleida being the premium sponsor, the marathon weekend and the runners, and it's really the runners and the sponsors, raised this year the numbers aren't finalized, but the last check I had was $235,000 for Kaleida, for Gates Vascular and Buffalo General, for Children's Hospital, for 5 different rescues, for 50 different charities. The majority of the volunteers out on race weekend represent charities, and they all apply for grants and they all get the money, whether it's doing traffic or doing aid stations. And then the one that is one of my favorites now, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go this year, was sadly last year after the shooting, it was 2 weeks before the race at Tops. And I had, not sadly, but a runner emailed me and said, this goes back to, they're not all my ideas, suggested a couple things. And she suggested a food drive. And last year there was a lot of community support for Tops because it was so close. And we collected 23,000 pounds of food for Feed More of Western New York. This year, I wasn't so sure how the food drive was going to go. We collected 19,000 pounds of food.
Wow.
We gave it to Feed More.
Fantastic.
So it's an incredible, incredible community that gives back and gives back. And, it's the drum I will beat continually. This is a community event for the community, by the community. And, that's why we do it. That's why we work so hard.
So athletes, use a comment section to let us know what your favorite part of race day was. Whatever, whether it was the course or the snacks or someone you met or your finish line. I thought everyone was super energetic at the start. I enjoyed the delightfulness of our herd, the largest herd of buffalo in the nation on that day, and it was pretty spectacular.
The start is my favorite part, because the start is the beginning of the most anxious part of my weekend. So, but it is my favorite part to watch everybody finish. And what Diane caught in all those pictures, when you look at them, what impressed me was the number of people coming across smiling.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of grimaces. There was a lot of joy and rejoicing. And that's what you see at the finish line. I would rather be there at 12:30 when the last runner crosses than at 8:30 when the first runner crosses. There's more excitement and tears of joy and everything for what they accomplished.
That is a totally, absolutely legit observation. There was more joy and more smiles and excitement and PR faces.
Yeah.
We had so many PR faces and so many people at the finish line. We do this enough that we see certain things coming across and we know what they mean. Yeah. And and there was a lot of first timers, a lot of first time marathoners, first time half marathoners. There was such a huge group of organized clubs. Team Red, White, and Blue had a huge presence there.
Yeah,
50 skaters, marathon. It was huge, and along with that is the spectator group we had this year was absolutely. It was one of the best I've ever seen there. They never let down. Thank you, Sherry. The spectators were fantastic, and I'm sure they were on the course as well. But what we saw in the finish shoot, all up and down, they just didn't stop. I mean, there's sometimes, and Fitz and I love all our races, but there are sometimes we got to beat these people to, hey, come on. They just ran a marathon. They just ran a half marathon. These people were relentless and they were committed. It was an exceptional group at the finish line. It really was.
There was a level of energy, and I've been told that by a bunch of people, including our online training partner, Steve Gonzer. His wife ran the half. I think it was a half. I don't think she ran the full, but he said the level of energy at the start and the level of energy at the finish and the level of energy at the expo, he said you could feel it. It's like coming back from the pandemic. We're not quite at pre-pandemic numbers, but we are darn close. And next year, I think we're going to be over all of those. We're already trending higher on all of our registrations. So it's all great. And, you and I and even Rich this year, the one thing we don't experience is the course, right? We hear, but we don't experience it. And this year with the shopping cart going around the course, I got kind of a first-hand look into the finish line because my daughter was in the shopping cart. My girlfriend was in the shopping cart visiting Buffalo for the first time and getting toured around. And they both got out, besides having a great time, they said the spectator support on the course was incredible from start to end, and they went all 26 miles. So it's been, we've had a couple of people say, change the course. But we've been using the same course now for, I think, 10 years with only minor tweaks. The neighborhoods have adopted it. They know it's coming, right? And they embrace it. And it's wonderful. We change the course, then we got to educate a whole new population. So,
yeah.
One of the things that we passed by, but Donna, I also love, I don't know I'm in a college town, so we're different, but a city to see all the Buffalo Bill gear all the time. It's just off. I love it. Like, people live, eat, breathe. It doesn't matter if it's football season or not. You're going to wake up and wear your darn Bills gear all day.
Always football season.
So good. So good.
And if you haven't been following the Bills, Damar Hamlin is going through practice right now.
Great.
So here's a guy that we thought was dead on TV
that was
in January, and he's back on the field playing professional football. So, yes.
All right. Post-race food in the convention center. That was great. People did fill their bellies and enjoy some of the beer, the 27th mile beer, Greg. So well done on that.
It's always a good party. It goes to some of the things we talked about at the end as we get to this and say, what did you like and stuff. And, the survey, considering we're 2 minutes left, we do send a survey out to all the runners, and lest anybody watching here that fills out the survey thinks it falls on deaf ears, it does not. Rich, if you talk to Rich and I about the race and you tell us what a great job it is, we love the accolades. We love to hear how hard our crews work. But the next thing out of our mouths you're going to hear is, tell us one thing we can make better, because we can't see it, right? We don't see what the runners see. We don't see what the runners feel. We see what, our planning. We know where, and we had we got a lot of 10s this year, but we had some hiccups setting up, and Rich said it to his crew best. And as I said, I'll go back and the best example I have is like, Kathy, my girlfriend, was up and she had never experienced it. And after it was all over, she said, that was a 10 plus. That was incredible. I can't believe how much fun I had. And she said, what do you think? And I said, I think it was a 7 or an 8. And she said, no way. And so I texted Rich. I said, what do you give it, Rich? He said, 7 or an 8. Asked Peggy, the volunteer director, 7 or an 8. I mean, so the crew, myself, were very hard on the details, but Rich stresses to everybody, we are problem solvers. Besides producing the race, if you see a problem, fix it so the athletes don't see it. So the athletes get the 10 experience while we are handling the little details, all the things you don't see. To that vein, I would encourage people to volunteer.
Right? Yeah. No such thing as too many volunteers.
No such thing as too many volunteers, and you can't do them without it. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Fitz.
That's okay. I was just going to say, Rudy and I get a behind the scenes view of some of the finest races around America most weekends of the year, and there's not one of them that doesn't have someone putting out fires on race morning or the night before the race. It's just a logistical madness with a million moving parts, and but you all seem to be able to provide miracles with nothing less than a zip tie, so.
Yeah, I mean, Dave McGilvray from Boston came in here, and I remember him speaking at the pasta party, and he was his second time here. He had been here the first year when Rich and I took over, and he stood there and he said, I don't know how these two do it. He said, I put on one marathon on a Monday. He said, they've got events going. They got dog races and kids races and everything else going on. And we have 15. I count them, and depending upon how I count them, I can be at 15, I can be at 18 or 19, but all of that happens in a weekend. 15 or 18 different events for 6,000 people and 20,000 spectators. And there's a lot of moving parts, and something's going to go wrong, right? I mean, we're not going to be perfect, but we hope everybody goes home safe and everybody has a great experience.
That's right.
First thing is they go home safe.
That's right.
So that's our number one priority. So on that, let me just touch here. Do you have something? Can I segue here?
Segue away.
So we do a survey because I'm shy and I don't like to talk. I've been told I ramble. But we do a survey. We ask a lot of questions and we get a lot of responses. And the ones I like the best are the free form ones where we ask people for their comments. And I read through them, and there's always some offhanded comments, right? Like, I mean, in no disrespect to the person who made the comment, somebody asked us to fix all the streets. Well, they're public city streets. There's only so much we can do. And to that vein, the city does drive the entire course and look for problems 2 or 3 times before the race, including my crew. But to go down the list real quick of some of the common things that we had criticisms of this year, for anybody who's thinking about racing next year that we are on or looking at these, age group awards for this race are never handed out at the post-race parties. They are mailed. There's too much stuff going on. We don't know when finishers are going to finish. Asking somebody who finishes early to wait until somebody finishes late, the 70-year-old, is just too much. So we've made the decision to mail all the awards. We will update the guides, so that is clear. The course overview, we had very good comments on Steve's course overview, but somehow people missed our Q&A on the course. They wish there was more Q&A. So I would say anybody next year, you have questions, Fitz and I do a Q&A like a week before the race. Fingers crossed, next year there will not be construction at the convention center. It was supposed to be done. It's outside of our control. It limits our footprint down there and causes some logistical problems. Everybody was able to work around it, but it was a big comment in the survey. Like, it's another thing. That project is 3 years late. Fitz. Rudy, we touched on it. Measurement of distances, we touched on that in the beginning. The course is certified. A big one that the women are now asking for, and is true, is gender-specific swag. I'm talking to the vendor on that right now. So people understand gender-specific. The more swag you offer, the more cost there is to the race, the harder it is to get the numbers right. If everybody registered today for the race and the race sold out, ordering the swag would be easy. Right? Everybody would get exactly what they ordered in the exact size. But a large percentage of people don't wait until March to register. We order in January. So we are guessing, and the swag sizes are put into the registration system, and the volunteers are supposed to give you what's on your bib because that's what you put in the registration system to ensure the person who registers today that I ordered a small shirt for gets a small shirt. So we are going to look at gender-specific swag. Race day parking. Would love to help everybody park. We have a parking map that the city provides. The parking lots are privately held. We don't control them. So it's hard to say where to park or how much it's going to cost.
Can people just park at your house, Greg? Just all of them from your house?
But I'm 22 miles from the start line.
Okay.
Gear drop, another big one. We eliminated gear drop during the pandemic and the construction. Next year, the construction is going to be done. We plan to reinstate gear drop. In all honesty, gear drop is a very tough component of the race. It seems easy. Somebody comes in, they give you your bag, you take it out. All the bags have to be scanned, and we need volunteers to staff that from 5:30 to 1:30. And volunteer shortages are not unlike staffing shortages in companies now. Volunteers are getting harder to get. So right now we are searching for gear drop people to do it. If you want to volunteer and do gear drop, bring it on. Email rd@buffalomarathon.org. Gear drop, race day pickup. Oh, another great one. This was an incredible thing. We discovered last year that packet pickup was being extremely stressed with race day pickup. And we made the decision to eliminate race day pickup. People with copies of your ID could pick it up. Another thing we have to clarify in the guide, but there were still a small percentage of people who missed the memo, right? Couldn't make it because they were within driving distance. They were in Rochester. But at the end of the day, what I would ask is patience and tolerance, because again, like Gear Check, the packet pickup people are there from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m, managing a lot of inventory. Next year, we are going to put back race day packet pickup in the convention center for people to get their bibs. The discussion right now is to add an additional requirement that if you want race day packet pickup, you're going to pay $25 if you want your shirt, right? And we will ship it to you afterwards. So then we only need to manage the bibs. We don't need to manage 25 or 50 boxes of inventory. That will allow us to do race day packet pickup. Race tracking, participant tracking, another huge failure on RaceJoy this year. We fully admit it. We own it. The timers own it. We are looking for an alternate solution. Heat and ice. We had our heat plan half activated going into the weekend. It looked like it was going to be warm. The temperatures trended back down. They were supposed to be cooler. At the end of the day, the sun came out, and I think people were saying 90. I think it was 80, 81. I had a wet bulb temperature at about 12:15, and the temperature was about 81 degrees. So 80, 81. So it wasn't really warm enough where we believe we needed our heat plan, but we are looking at deploying more ice on it. The real big thing was porta potties. Because of the number of people, there's people asking for more porta potties on the course. Rich is already planning on adding more porta potties out onto the aid stations. I would ask people in the porta potties, plan ahead. If you go out and do an 18-mile run, how often do you stop, right? Why do you feel you need to stop every 2 miles at some point? Maybe it's nerves. I mean, it's not, I just think some of this stuff, I mean, the runners have to take responsibility at some point. We can provide so many assets, and we're doing our best. Narrow entrance into the Erie Basin Marine Harbor. We know it. We can't do anything about it. Erie Basin Marina controls that. We're trying to work with them, but we continue. It's a logistical pinch point that we're trying to address. My favorite is the last loop in the full. You guys probably don't know this, but everybody knows a marathon has got to be 26.2 feet. Depending upon how you build your course, you have a half and a full start.
We're still on the kids' run.
You have a half and a full start at the same exact spot. To have them have the same exact finish line, somebody's going to take a side turn somewhere to get to that distance. In our course, it's built in to the block before the finish line. It's about a 500-yard or 100-yard run out a side street and a hairpin turn. We've talked about it. Even if we move it, it's going to get moved someplace else, and there's really nothing we can do about it to get to 26.2 feet. Changing the course. We've had a lot of requests. I shouldn't say a lot. We've had a few requests to change the course. We've had just as many people who say they love the course. We happen to love the course. It runs by a lot of architecture. So people understand to have a certified course. Rudy, do you know what it costs to certify a full marathon course now?
It costs big bucks, man. Big bucks.
In our area, $7,000 to $8,000.
I was going to say, okay, yeah.
And that's in our area. I don't know about California and stuff. So it's a lot of work to certify the course. And then there is also the neighborhood adoption. We asked for
I'd like to make a comment about the course for anybody who's watching, anybody who's thinking about running, or anybody who might be thinking about moving up from the half marathon to the marathon. 1 in 10 of the athletes qualified for the Boston Marathon at the Buffalo Marathon this year. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
It was pretty incredible. We have a pretty fast course. On Saturday, we had a couple parents request that the diaper dash be placed in front of the kids race. That is something we are seriously looking at because they said the little kids fall asleep at noon. So We actually had that one little kid that they put at the start line, and the kid just went and was like laid down and taking a nap. It was done. So, and the father was like, "No, you're not." So, yeah. So we're looking at doing that, and then just to wrap up. Oh, yeah. I'll wrap up with the last thing: the post-race party. Post-race party is a celebration for us. Everybody is invited. You know, we had a couple people criticize that other people were taking food, family members and stuff, kids. I don't care. I mean, not that they were concerned about it. I want the families there to celebrate with the athletes. We don't sell beer tickets. We don't sell pizza tickets. It's eat and drink as much as you want. We always have food left over at the end. That said, we had a lot of comments about food at the finish. We did not have food at the finish because we wanted people to go to the post-race party because that's where all the assets were. We are going to relook at that and put something at the finish line, but it's not going to be a whole buffet, right? The party is upstairs where all the food is. So we'll have something for sugar depletion at the finish line, but we want you to go upstairs. That raises another problem because this year we had very long lines at the food stations. Again, a volunteer issue. We're working on getting more volunteers to shorten those lines so people don't wait. We did have mile 27 this year, and they changed the mixture, and it wasn't as well received as everybody would have liked. We're going to ask them to go back to the original
recipe.
The original recipe. And then the last thing that we got some criticisms on were the escalators were turned off. And again, public building, we're still trying to figure out. We've heard different things about why those escalators were turned off. One of them was safety. So next year, what you're probably going to see is there's two sets of stairs. You're probably going to see next year an up set of stairs and a down set of stairs so that there's only one traffic flow on each set. And I think at that point, we'll be able to use the escalators again. But I can't promise that until I talk to the escalator. When will hotel reservations open? I've requested the Hyatt to have a link now and put on our website, so they should be open soon. I would always recommend people stay at our host hotel. It's the best. They're the best staff. They take great care of us. Fitz and Rudy have stayed with me there for 8 years, and I couldn't be happier. They're great.
Yeah, someone mentioned early in our podcast that the Hyatt just threw out late check. They threw out offers late check for anybody who was there for the race, which is really, really nice. Very often you have to go to the GM and beg and plead. Oh, please, anything.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but one of the nice things, and I would say this for even people staying in town, stay at the Hyatt, and the Hyatt has gotten more expensive. I think it was $250 for a night now, but you know, when I go and stay down in Florida and stuff, I'm paying $400 or $500 a night. So I always thought, I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not. I don't think it's exorbitant, but it's Memorial Day weekend.
And it's a high-end
sold out. Yeah. And one of the nice things for people traveling to Buffalo is you don't have to leave on Sunday. Most people are off on Monday. I'm not saying everybody, but make it a weekend in Buffalo. Don't take late checkout. Get late checkout on Monday and enjoy it, right? We all stay till Monday.
Yep.
We had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
How am I doing, Fitz? It's only 8:14. We got another 45 minutes.
You've done a fantastic job, Greg. Most importantly, our athletes were incredible. You know, it's just so much joy, and where I think so many people in the world are saying, I wish I would exercise. I wish I would do this. You've inspired over 6,000 people to commit to exercise and healthy living and show up and get it done. And not only, you know, do good things for these great causes, but experience real triumph, which is really lacking for a lot of people's lives during their monotonous day-to-day, whatever's going on. You show up at the Buffalo Marathon weekend and you really have something to be proud of, and throw your shoulders back and you say, yay, me, and enjoy that for a while. It's a big deal.
Enjoy it all year long and come back, right? I mean, you guys have got the best job in the world. You get to see it every weekend.
It's To me, it's crack cocaine sitting there with athletes and celebrating their victories. It's addicting, and I'm obsessed with every last one of them. It's such a gift, such a privilege. Thank you for inviting us to be a part of your weekend every year. It's
Yeah, you guys help make you guys help make it special. You certainly do. I mean, beyond your following, I mean, your recognition and your understanding of how the entire process works. And you know, at the end of the day, you guys work tirelessly. I mean, I really run you ragged when you look at go from event to event to event to event, and you never complain, and you just keep going, and you're always smiling, and you never have a harsh word for anybody, and you always give, unless they're a bandit, and then you always have
right, that's true.
unless you have in you know, you take the time with people and you celebrate, and that's what people need. They need that celebration. And you know, we have, you know, our crew goes up and down the streets, and I could go on for hours and hours about how hard everybody works to make those, whatever it is, 48 hours of Saturday to Sunday come together. And I'm proud to be part of it, and I'm proud of everybody that works for me.
Well, look, every single event sold out. So that's what everybody needs to know. Registration's open right now, right, Greg?
Registration is open. Thank you, Rudy. It's open, and it's open at 2022 prices. And it's, you know, we're maintaining those prices, and I'll say it right now because we're going to start marketing it in September. The price is going up $10 a race. You know, the pandemic, we're still coming out of the pandemic, and we're fighting to survive. And, you know, even with what the fighting we're doing to survive, we're not cutting any costs that affect athlete experience, and we're not cutting any costs that say we can't give money back to charity. And our total now with this year puts us somewhere around $1.7 million in 22 years. So other charities have done more, but you know, we stage a pretty big event and have a lot of production costs, and we're still finding a way to squeak out the dollars to help everybody. So it's a privilege to be part of it.
So is registration open right now, Greg?
Registration is open right now, and we are already trending ahead of last year. And as Rudy said, everything's sold out. Don't plead with me in May, please.
Right.
I can tell everybody here, I had more stories for why somebody didn't register. And Rudy, do you want to take a guess how many people I made room for? None.
Right. There you go.
Right. And I told people all through March we were trending and we were going to sell out. And what I'm going to focus on this year is trying to sell the race out in February. I would love it to sell out in January when I have to order the shirts.
Right.
And you know, I'm looking, last year we registered 6,400 people. This year I'm looking at 7,500. That's what I'm targeting for. And when people say, how can the race sell out? Right? How can it sell out? You have all these streets to run on. Yeah. I just give me a bib. I don't want a medal. We order medals in January. We order shirts in January. And there's nothing worse than having a finisher come through. And we have never experienced this and finish at 6 hours or whatever. And there's no medals left.
Right.
Yeah. And some of the biggest races, they will remain nameless in the country, had that problem this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
That you would never think. And we ordered, because when I looked at the numbers from the half, I misjudged the numbers, and I paid through the nose. The marathon paid through the nose to rush medals and shirts in a rush order so that we would ensure that we had enough for the athletes.
Nice.
Because we did not want to risk being short.
Right.
So that's what you got. We're committed to the runners.
Well, it was a spectacular weekend, a spectacular year full of effort. Congratulations to you and everyone who worked so hard to make it great. Peggy, your sidekick, Rich, Al, Randy, the whole crew. Yeah. Can't wait to see what you do next year, Greg.
Well, I got 50 weeks to figure it out.
Figure it out.
I mean, everybody could surprise me and register right now, and I would do back handsprings, and I would be like, okay, now what can we add? We got a fully sold out race 12 months in advance. I might be able to make more room if I've got 10 months to work on it, but
Yeah, folks, tell your friends. I mean, everyone seems like they're really happy campers. They logged in because they enjoyed themselves. Tell your friends, get someone new involved, and tell them they're more than welcome to walk the whole way, whatever distance they choose. We're going to welcome everybody. So do your part, spread the word. BuffaloMarathon.org. Go register now.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support.
All right, I'm going to kick you guys out, but before we do, we're going to play one more video. Greg, you get to choose which one do you want to see? The full, the dogs, the kids, or the 5K?
I want to see the kids.
Okay.
Because you can't start with anything but young runners. We're growing a future population.
Right.
Okay. Here come the baby buffaloes. Say goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye. Love you.